In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where the autumn leaves whispered secrets to the wind, a sharp knock echoed through the modest home of single dad Michael Harper. He froze, his heart pounding as he peered through the peephole. Two stern-faced lawyers in crisp suits stood on his doorstep, clutching briefcases that screamed importance. "Mr. Harper," one called out firmly, "we need to speak with you about Elena Ramirez." "It's urgent." Michael's mind raced. Elena? The homeless woman he'd shared a meal with weeks ago? What could this mean? Was he in trouble? Or was this the beginning of something unimaginable? But let's rewind, because this story isn't just about that knock, it's about the unbreakable bonds that form in the unlikeliest places, the kind that remind us all of our shared humanity. Imagine Michael, a 38-year-old widower, juggling the chaos of raising his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, all while working double shifts at a local diner. His wife, Sarah, had passed away 3 years earlier from a sudden illness, leaving him shattered and alone in a world that suddenly felt too heavy to carry. Every morning, he'd wake up to Lily's bright eyes, her innocent questions about Mommy stinging like fresh wounds. "Daddy, why does the sky cry when it rains?" she'd ask, and Michael would force a smile, hiding the storm inside him. Money was tight. The mortgage payments loomed like dark clouds, and the fridge often held more echoes than food. But Michael pressed on, teaching Lily the value of kindness, even when life seemed unkind. One rainy evening, as Michael trudged home from work, his arms laden with groceries he'd scraped together, he spotted her, a woman huddled under a tattered bridge, her clothes soaked and her eyes hollow with despair. She couldn't have been more than 60, her face etched with lines that told stories of hardship. Something in Michael stirred, perhaps it was the memory of Sarah's final words, urging him to always help those in need. He approached cautiously, offering half his sandwich and a warm cup of coffee from his thermos. "Here," he said softly, "you look like you could use this." The woman, who introduced herself as Elena, looked up with wary eyes. "Why would you do that for a stranger?" she murmured, her voice cracking. Michael shrugged. "Because we're all just trying to make it through the rain." Little did he know, that simple act would set off a chain of events that would change everything. As the days turned into weeks, Michael found himself drawn back to that bridge. It started innocently enough, a leftover meal here, a blanket there. Elena opened up slowly, sharing fragments of her past. She'd once been a successful businesswoman, running a small chain of bookstores that brought joy to her community. But tragedy struck. A fire destroyed her home and business, her husband left her in the aftermath, and she spiraled into debt and isolation. "I had everything," she confessed one night as they sat on a park bench, watching the stars peek through the clouds. "Now, I'm nothing." Michael listened, his own grief mirroring hers. He told her about Sarah, about how Lily's laughter was the only light in his darkness. "You're not nothing," he replied firmly. "You're surviving. That's more than most can say." Their conversations became a lifeline for both, a rare connection in a world that often looked the other way. But life, as it often does, threw curveballs. Lily fell ill one weekend, a high fever that wouldn't break. Michael panicked, rushing her to the emergency room, only to be hit with a bill that dwarfed his savings. "How am I going to pay for this?" he whispered to himself in the waiting room, tears blurring his vision. He skipped meals to stretch his budget, his body weakening from the strain. Elena noticed his exhaustion during their next meeting. "Michael, you're fading away," she said, concern etching her features. He brushed it off, but deep down, doubt crept in. Could he really keep this up? Was helping Elena distracting him from his own family? That night, as he tucked Lily in, she whispered, "Daddy, are we going to be okay?" His heart broke, and he promised her yes, even as uncertainty gnawed at him. Then came the first real test. One stormy afternoon, Michael arrived at the bridge to find Elena gone. Her usual spot was empty, save for a crumpled note, "Thank you for seeing me. I have to go." Panic surged through him. Had something happened? Was she hurt? He searched the nearby streets, asking passers-by if they'd seen her, but no one had. Days turned into a week, and Michael's worry grew. He confided in his coworker, Tom, who shook his head. "Mike, you can't save everyone. Focus on Lily." But Michael couldn't shake the feeling that Elena needed him. Late one night, as he lay awake, his phone buzzed, an unknown number. He answered hesitantly, and a frail voice echoed, "Michael? It's Elena. I need help." Her words hung in the air like a cliffhanger. What dire situation had pulled her away, and would Michael risk everything to find her? Rushing out into the night, Michael followed Elena's directions to a rundown shelter on the city's edge. There, he found her shivering in a corner, her face pale and bruised. "I tried to get back on my feet," she explained through sobs. "Applied for jobs, but they turned me away. Then last night, some thugs mugged me for what little I had." Michael's anger boiled, not at Elena, but at the cruel world that had beaten her down. He helped her to her feet, insisting she come home with him for the night. "Just until we figure this out," he said. Lily, wide-eyed but kind-hearted, welcomed her with a drawing of a rainbow. "For you, Miss Elena," she beamed. That evening, as they shared a simple dinner, Elena revealed more. She'd been estranged from her only daughter for years, a rift born from misunderstandings during her downfall. "I pushed her away when I needed her most," Elena admitted, tears streaming. Michael nodded, relating all too well to the pain of loss. "Family is everything," he said. "Maybe it's time to mend that bridge." The next morning brought a glimmer of hope. Michael helped Elena contact social services, securing her a spot in a transitional housing program. But challenges mounted, bureaucracy delayed her aid, and Elena's health deteriorated from years on the streets. She coughed relentlessly, and Michael worried it was something serious. He dipped into his emergency fund to buy her medicine, even as his own bills piled up. Lily, sensing the tension, asked, "Daddy, is Miss Elena our family now?" Michael's response was heartfelt, "Family isn't just blood, sweetie. It's who we choose to care for." Yet, doubt lingered. His boss warned him about missing shifts, and neighbors whispered about the homeless lady staying over. One evening, after a heated argument with a bill collector over the phone, Michael snapped at Elena unintentionally. "I can't do this forever," he exclaimed, regretting it instantly. Elena's eyes filled with hurt, and she murmured, "I understand. I'll leave tomorrow." The air thickened with unspoken regret. Would their fragile bond shatter under the pressure? As Elena prepared to depart the next day, fate intervened. A letter arrived in the mail, addressed to her from an old acquaintance. It was from her former lawyer, mentioning unresolved assets from her business. "There might be something left," Elena read aloud, hope flickering in her voice. Michael encouraged her to pursue it, driving her to the law office despite his exhaustion. There, the truth unraveled. Elena hadn't lost everything. Buried in legal fine print was an insurance payout she'd forgotten about, tied up in red tape for years. "It's not much," the lawyer said, "but enough to start over." Elena's eyes widened, $50,000. For the first time in ages, she smiled genuinely. "Michael, this is because of you. You gave me the strength to fight." But as they celebrated that night, a shadow loomed. Elena's cough worsened, leading to a doctor's visit that revealed pneumonia. "She needs rest and care," the doctor warned. Michael vowed to help, but with Lily's school fees due and his job on the line, how long could he hold on? The question hung like a second cliffhanger. Would Elena's newfound fortune come too late to save her, or would it pull them all from the brink? Weeks blurred into a whirlwind of recovery and renewal. Elena moved into her new apartment, using part of the money to rebuild her life. She reconnected with her daughter, Maria, who flew in from across the country. Their reunion was tearful, filled with apologies and forgiveness. "Mom, I never stopped loving you," Maria whispered, hugging her tightly. Michael watched from afar, his heart swelling with pride. But his own struggles persisted. The hospital bill from Lily's illness threatened foreclosure on their home. He hid it from everyone, working overtime until his body ached. One day, Elena showed up at the diner, looking healthier and determined. "Michael, let me help you now," she insisted, offering to cover the bill. He refused at first, pride getting in the way. "You've been through enough," he said. But Elena persisted. "Kindness isn't a debt, it's a circle. You started it, let me close it." Reluctantly, Michael accepted, and with the burden lifted, he focused on healing his own wounds. Lily thrived, her drawings now featuring Elena as a super grandma. Michael even started dating again, inspired by Elena's resilience. But the biggest surprise came when Elena's lawyers knocked on his door that fateful morning. As Michael opened it, his pulse racing, the lawyers explained, Elena had passed away peacefully in her sleep the night before, her pneumonia complications catching up despite the treatments. Michael's world spun, grief crashed over him like a wave. "She left this for you," one lawyer said, handing over a will. In it, Elena had named Michael and Lily as beneficiaries, leaving them her remaining fortune and a heartfelt letter. "Dear Michael, you fed my body and soul when I was starving. You reminded me I was worthy of love. Take this and build the life Sarah would want for you. Remember, kindness echoes forever." Tears streamed down Michael's face as he read it aloud to Lily later that day. The inheritance wasn't just money. It was a second chance. They paid off debts, started a college fund for Lily, and even donated to homeless shelters in Elena's name. Michael founded a community program, Meals with Meaning, where people shared stories over food, fostering connections like the one he'd had with Elena. Years later, as Lily grew into a compassionate young woman, Michael looked back on that rainy evening under the bridge. It wasn't about the money, it was about the humanity they rediscovered in each other. And so, dear viewers, this story teaches us that even in our darkest moments, a single act of kindness can ripple into a tsunami of change. It reminds us to see the person behind the struggle, to offer a hand without expecting return. Elena and Michael's bond proves that we're all connected, and sometimes, the greatest rewards come from the heart, not the wallet. If this tale touched you, hit that like button and subscribe for more emotional stories that inspire the soul. Until next time, keep spreading kindness. You never know whose life you might transform.